Hey guys. This is what Naruto was reborn in the past to prevent the destruction of the Uzumaki clan. Naruto goes back in time. Though he won't be going back as himself, since the time in which he will enter will be before his birth. He has been tasked by the Shinigami with fixing the future by repairing the past around a crucial moment during the Second Shinobi War, preventing the Uzumaki clan's destruction. Hit like and subscribe if you like this one, and also please check the author in the description. This part will cover chapters 1 and 2. Let's start. Chapter 1. Another time. An old man sat on a small log in the middle of a forest deep within the region of Fire Country. He had a long beard that was so long it touched the ground. His head was bald with a small amount of white hair going down the back of his head and an X-shaped scar on the front of his forehead. This man was wearing an orange trench coat with a black spiral on the back to signify what clan he belonged to, and was wearing a black shirt with black pants. He had shinobi sandals on, shin guards, arm guards, and resting beside him was a large wooden staff he used as a cane. Though in truth, it was much more than that. As for who this person was in life, his name? Uzumaki Naruto. You are coming with us, commanded a masked ANBU shinobi with a headband signifying he was from Konoha, along with his team consisting of 20 other identical figures appearing from the shadows. And on the sleeves of their arms was the crest of the Uchiha clan to further signify who they all followed. The figure that was now identified as Uzumaki Naruto ignored while he seemed to stare at nothing while smoking from his pipe. The very one that at one point belonged to the Sandaime Hokage himself. And just what does your honorable Hokage for an Uchiha want with me? Asked Naruto in an old yet still strong voice. You sent the 9 Biju away from this world. We are here to bring you back to Konoha, where you are hereby ordered to reverse what you have done, and seal them again in those chosen by Hokage-sama himself. You are to create 9 new Jinchuriki for Konoha to use in the growing confrontation with the other 4 shinobi villages rebelling against us, commanded the ANBU captain, who saw Naruto blow some smoke out from his mouth. My answer, like the last time a team came to see me, is still the same. No, replied Naruto firmly, while the team of ANBU suddenly drew their weapons. We have been authorized to use force to bring you back. Hokage-sama doesn't need you to cooperate. Just your knowledge on what you did and how to reverse it, which he will get from your mind, one way or another, threatened the ANBU captain while Naruto just sighed. I told Sasuke to leave me alone. Time and time again, I have told that fool to leave me in peace. To let me live my life away from Konoha after everything I have lost. After I had my dreams taken from me. But like all Uchiha, he doesn't listen to others, nor does he try to think beyond his own desires or ambitions in a quest for more power. Kurama was indeed correct. The Uchiha clan is a cursed clan. Just as Konoha has become a cursed village, remarked Naruto before putting the pipe away. You traitorous bastard! Exclaimed an angry ANBU to the captain's right, who signaled for him to calm down while keeping an eye on the old man in front of them. Naruto wasn't always this old looking. It had been a price he was forced to pay. One the Shinigami told him would be the cost when the Uzumaki summoned him and wanted to free the Biju from being turned into tools of war again. It had happened shortly after the 4th Shinobi War had ended and peace happened throughout the lands, and all was well, at least at first. Until Sasuke was made the 7th Hokage. As it turned out, Naruto couldn't become Hokage of Konoha due to his mother being from the Uzumaki clan in Yuzu, and thus considered a foreigner at the time when she came to the village. The law stated no one of foreigner blood from another country or shinobi village could become Hokage. That only someone of such decadency after 3 generations down could have that right. By that point, they were considered to be pure-blooded Konoha citizens once that happened and the chance of betraying the village had been successfully bred out. It was a law imposed by the Sandaime Hokage himself during his younger years as the ruler of the village. He had made this rule officially as a precaution should enemies of Konoha try to infiltrate Konoha as refugees, seduce some of its people, and then raise the children they have to usurp the power of the village from within. To prevent possible traitors and sleeper agents from destroying the village once the next generation were full grown. The Uzumaki clan had been no exception to this particular law. In fact, it seemed the law was designed specifically for them. Which was why Kushina couldn't be Hokage despite her actually being stronger than Minato was in many aspects. The man tried to repeal the law, but the Sandaime and Jiraiya had been against it along with several other members on the council despite Kushina's ranting at times at it being unfair since she had been loyal to Konoha for years after joining their ranks following the Uzumaki clan's fall during the Second Shinobi War. Of course, both Koharu and Hamura had been most adamant about this rule being used when the nominations came up for who would succeed Tsunade as Hokage following Sasuke being pardoned for his past crimes. The two old bats went on and on about how Naruto couldn't be trusted to handle the many responsibilities surrounding the duties of being Hokage. How Sasuke was truly someone who would take it seriously and lead Konoha down a path worthy of the title. Naturally, Naruto felt betrayed by this, and even more so when Sasuke accepted it with a smirk on his face. As if the Uchiha had always known this would happen and was just now showing his hand on the matter. But Naruto endured. He may not have had the title of Hokage, but that didn't mean the man couldn't have a family and children to call his own who could take the hat one day. Tsunade apologized to him, and he accepted it since the woman had fought for his right to be Hokage during the nominations every step of the way. Not that it mattered shortly after, as his lovely wife Hinata and their two children were his pride and joy in Konoha. Their love helping his scarred heart healing quite nicely and making him forget about the betrayal delivered against him. Only for his loving family to be taken away from him via the hands of death. Or more specifically, they were all killed on secret orders by Koharu, Hamura, Sasuke, and the Hyuga elders. Naruto was given an assignment by Sasuke for a diplomatic mission outside of Konoha to handle some growing tensions near Earth Country. A mission where Naruto wasn't supposed to come back from since it was secretly a trap to end his life in order to remove him as a threat to the grand plan Sasuke wished to invoke using the 9 Biju and his Sharingan. When Naruto was away on his mission, Sasuke ordered his ANBU to kill Hinata at the request of the Hyuga elders, and also her children to ensure none of Naruto's progeny could be a future threat to the Uchiha's rule. Hinata, however, was not a meek woman to be crossed when it came to protecting her children, and showed it by killing almost all of the ANBU attacking the house. She would have prevailed against them had it not been for Sasuke showing up at the last moment, and moved to kill her children with his Chidori intent on being aimed for a 2-for-1 kill. Hinata used her body as a shield to take the hit to the heart, but with her last act of strength, she struck Sasuke in various points, took one of his eyes, and even made the man sterile so he would be denied having any progeny of his own to continue his legacy. Enraged by what Hinata had done since she told him, Sasuke used what strength he had left along with his remaining ANBU in the area, and burned the Uzumaki house down with the intended targets inside. Hinata had held her 2 scared children close while they wept, and she told them it was all right. That they would be going to a nice place where no one could hurt them ever again. They asked if Daddy would join them and Hinata could only smile at the two before kissing their foreheads. And soon after, the fire consumed them. When Naruto returned to Konoha, he was furious beyond belief, as his assassins sent to kill him on his mission, Konoha Nin all, were killed violently, and after torturing the leader of the group, slowly, he now knew who sent them. When he got back home, the blonde knew something was amiss, and found his house burned to the ground with the smoke still rising from the remains. Walking through it, Naruto saw the bodies of his wife and children holding each other close. At first, Naruto didn't understand how this could happen, but a burned message, written in charred blood, Hinata's blood, burned into the wood of the floor, and told him all he needed to know about who caused this. Uchiha Sasuke. Naruto wasted no time kicking down the door of the Hokage's office. He saw that Sasuke, the Hyuga elders, Hamura, and Koharu were shocked to see Naruto not only alive, but relatively unharmed. Stained in blood, yes, but it wasn't his blood. Many of the ninja in the tower tried to stop him from heading to Sasuke's office, but they were either killed or were badly injured by him. Before they could do or say anything, Naruto unleashed his fury on them, and the ANBU in the room. Hamura and Koharu were the first to die. They were old and weak, so they were of no consequence, same with the Hyuga elders being in the same boat, and too old to move to defend themselves. But Sasuke was a different matter and deserved to suffer greatly at his hands. The Uchiha was weakened from what Hinata had done to him, and Naruto was not going to give Sasuke a chance to win their fight. Said fight spilled into the streets below, where Naruto proceeded to beat the living hell out of Sasuke, calling him a traitor, coward, backstabber, a power-hungry bastard, and the murderer of his family. Despite everything, Sasuke smirked when Naruto called him the last part, and the Uchiha called his former friend a fool for showing mercy and asking the daimyos to pardon him. How he had taken everything from Naruto, and now the loser could truly understand him in a way no one else could. How the darkness would now consume Naruto like it was always meant to, and the Uchiha would finally succeed in breaking the will of an Uzumaki. Naruto, however, was not one to break like Sasuke thought. Instead, Naruto decided to take something else from Sasuke to further even the playing field, and drew his sword he had acquired from his mother's homeland. Before Sasuke could do or say anything, Naruto took his remaining eye, and his bandaged arm meant to replace his real one during the Fourth Shinobi War. You're nothing to me now, Sasuke. You're not my brother or a friend. You are my enemy. All the shinobi who follow you are my enemy. It doesn't matter if they were my friends or not. Any shinobi who comes for me from this day forward in your name is my enemy. And I will kill them. You wanted me to break Sasuke, but I'm not going to break. I'm going to do what you can't do. Endure. I'm going to live and you are going to rot. The world will know just how rotten you are and leave you to your fate along with this rotting village. Those had been his final words to Sasuke before Naruto left with Kurama so the Uchiha wouldn't use him for his own twisted purposes. Just because Sasuke lost his eyes didn't mean there weren't replacements he could use for the same purpose. Since then, Naruto had been a wanted man throughout Konoha and Fire Country despite what Sasuke had done. All Konoha now had standing orders to find and kill Naruto should he be located by them. But that wasn't all. Apparently, the other Kages heard what the Uchiha had done and wanted no part of what the Hokage was planning to do. They closed off their borders and sent a message to Sasuke for his shinobi to enter at their own risk, for Konoha was now their enemy. Enraged, Sasuke, upon being healed, declared war on them all, calling each village traitors to Konoha, and declared his to be the one true shinobi village of the elemental countries. How he was the supreme Kage, who ruled over all the other Kages. He even went so far as to declare that all shinobi villages and their Kages should and would swear loyalty to him, or be destroyed by his power. That they would bend the knee or he would break their backs before ending their lives along with the lives of their progeny. Hence the beginning of the Fifth Shinobi War, or as the people of Konoha called it, the Rebellion of the Four Kages. Naruto stayed out of it for the most part. He needed time to mourn the loss of his wife and children. That all changed when the few remaining loyal spies from his network had gained were able to inform him of Sasuke's plan to win the war. To gather all of the 9 Biju via the use of his replacement Sharingan eyes. To force them into submission with the power of his dojutsu, and unleash enslaved Biju on the 4 Kages and their allied forces. Naturally, Naruto could not let this stand. The Biju had earned the right to live and be free from being sealed by humans. From being used by power-hungry humans for their wars. From being seen only as tools, slaves, or weapons to be used for personal gain in conquering the world. So Naruto decided to do the only thing he could do given the situation. He would gather the 9 Biju himself, and send them away to a realm where humans couldn't use them. Where they could be safe. Free. Happy. Everything they were denied in life shortly after the sage created them from the chakra of the Jubi sealed in his body. So Naruto went to each village. One by one. Speaking to the Biju about his plan. How he wanted to prevent Sasuke's plan from happening. How it was the only way that Sasuke or any other human in the future could be denied such ambitions. Reluctantly, each Biju agreed with him, and eventually joined Naruto in the ruins of Yuzu to perform the means to take them to such a place. Of course, opening such a portal to a realm like that required a price be paid to a deity capable of cutting a hole to such a place. And the only one Naruto could think of who could be summoned for such an assignment had been the Shinigami. When the deity stood in front of him, Naruto told the Shinigami what he wanted, and was willing to pay the price if it meant Sasuke's plans would fail. The Shinigami, for all of his deathly appearance, looked quite impressed with the Uzumaki standing before him. As such, the Shinigami did not take his soul like Naruto thought he would, but rather asked for something else in return. Something the Biju protested, since what was being asked was possibly worse. The Shinigami had demanded that the price for Naruto's overall plans to succeed was the man's youth. That the Uzumaki be turned into an old Uzumaki. Granted, he would still be strong, even by the standards of an elder Uzumaki, but still aged to the point where he would be a very old-looking man. However, to even the playing field, the Shinigami gave Naruto's sword a piece of its essence to bond to the man, and become what the deity had called a Zanpakuto. A sword of incredible power. One only Naruto could truly wield. A sword that would be able to bring the world to its knees should its fully strength be unleashed. And with this incredible power, the equally incredible knowledge on how to use it properly against his enemies. Without hesitation on his part, Naruto agreed to the terms the Shinigami set, and let the other villages know what he did to deny Sasuke his plans for the Biju. After that, Sasuke became livid beyond measure. He had ordered for Naruto's capture and to be brought back to Konoha to not only undo what he had done, but to face Hokage's justice, as he called it. Since then, Naruto had been the most wanted man in Fire Country, but no one could pin him down in terms of location unless he wanted to be found. When they did, it was usually Konoha shinobi sent by Sasuke to capture him, and they usually died slow, painful deaths. None of Naruto's true friends like the rookies, Guy's old team, or the Konohamaru Corps were among those sent. Tsunade and Shizen left too. So did Naruto's favorite ramen stand owners. Even the various senseis of the rookies and their own set of children to ensure something of the next generation holding the true will of fire survived. They knew when to leave and did leave when they saw just how corrupt Konoha had become under Sasuke's rule. Only Sakura stayed to support Sasuke's rule of tyranny, determined to fix Sasuke's sterility, and to one day have his child. Or at least she was determined, before Naruto killed her on a C-ranked mission she was on and sent what was left of the woman's body back to Sasuke in tiny pieces. It is well that you are all idiots. It makes the motion of killing you all feel less heavy on my heart, remarked Naruto before he vanished in a blur and appeared behind them 1 second later. Soon after, the Anbu fell to the ground dead due to being sliced to pieces. But this wasn't enough for Naruto. No. This had to end now. This had to end with Konoha being burned to the ground and its ashes scattered into the winds. While Naruto knew he was stronger than Sasuke would ever be for years to come, right now, his body was still old, and Uzumaki or not, age catches up with you. Naruto wasn't going to be like Sarutobi Hiruzen and let this Uchiha version of Orochimaru be allowed to do what he wanted in the hopes of repenting in the future. The Uchiha had his chance for redemption and pissed it all away. All of Konoha had the chance to change and only the minority of them did. A small minority too. Smirking slightly, Naruto had an idea on just how to hit this problem in the bud, and end this nonsense permanently with Sasuke. It was dangerous, suicidal, and ultimately mean his end. But he wouldn't be Uzumaki Naruto if that didn't fit his personality perfectly. Konoha 1 week later. Konoha sounded the alarm. Shinobi from the village swarmed the main gate, armed at the ready, weapons drawn, and chakra surging through them to use jutsus. They all stared at the figure who was the source of this action with a bit of fear, apprehension, and anger all mixed into one. Not surprising since they lost many of their comrades to this elderly man and the rumored power he wielded. Even if he didn't look it. Behind these shinobi of Konoha came Sasuke, wearing his Hokage hat and robes with the Uchiha symbol on the back of the robes as if to signify only an Uchiha could be Hokage. Not surprising since fire was the main affinity of the Uchiha clan and felt no one else could hold the right to be Hokage due to that stipulation. So loser, you've finally decided to show yourself after all this time in hiding. Did you come to acknowledge my greatness? Come to beg for forgiveness? To help me in this stupid rebellion by the other Kages? Remarked Sasuke with a smirk at seeing just how old his former friend looked. No, on all counts, Sasuke. You are not worthy of my help, much less acknowledgement of greatness. You are lower than trash, replied Naruto with Sasuke scowling at him. says the weak old man currently standing before me, who looks like a mere gust of wind could easily knock him over with little to no effort, countered Sasuke harshly while he saw Naruto now sporting a smirk and letting out a chuckle. Come now, Sasuke team. If there is one thing you should have learned by now after all this time, is that you should never ever underestimate a member of the Uzumaki clan. Especially when that Uzumaki just so happens to be me, stated Naruto with his eyes suddenly going from humorous to cold and icy. Restrain him, ordered Sasuke with his eyes active, and his shinobi moved in to take Naruto down. Only to be hit with an invisible weight of pressure, and see Naruto's hunched form now straighten with the look of a warrior replacing the friendly weak old man. Removing his coat, Naruto revealed his body was not one of a weak frail old man like he made others here believe, but a hardened warrior of battle, and with the scars to prove it. His eyes were one of fury, fire, and conviction that Sasuke had never seen before until now in Naruto. Fools! You follow a false Kage. Sasuke believes himself better than everyone around him, and all should fall at his feet as if he were a god. In truth, he would see you all burn in order to escape my wrath, but I will not allow it. This village has become corrupt. The will of fire has become one of darkness and hatred. It must be burned out and cleansed from this world, said Naruto before his crude-looking walking stick turned into a sword and he grabbed the hilt. Damn you, loser! I don't know what you are about to do, but I won't allow it to happen. You hear me? You are going to die here. This world is mine. Its people are mine. My vision of the world as I see it is law, yelled Sasuke in defiance while wishing he could move his body to stop Naruto. Wrong. Your vision of the world is about to be destroyed. Reduce all creation into ash, Ryujin Jaka, exclaimed Naruto before a seemingly unstoppable wave of fire exploded from his being and consumed all who stood in its path. Namely his enemies. None survived the onslaught. All of Konoha was consumed in the fire, the intense blade of it all destroying everything, and everyone in the village. Some tried to run, but they did not get very far, and the buildings themselves easily fell apart from the intensity of the blaze. And Naruto was just getting started. Calling forth all his power, he made the fire spin violently in a circle over the whole village before it split into four, and dived down into the earth below, only to rise up in four different corners of and shot up toward the heavens with the desire to leave nothing of the village being evident in his actions. This place was going to burn and everything around it for miles. Not even the Hokage monument would be spared. Not that it was much of a monument anymore. Sasuke had taken the other Hokage heads down and replaced them all with one giant head of himself to further enforce his greatness. To show everyone that he was the greatest Hokage that Konoha would ever had or needed in its lifetime. Naruto saw it as an insult and eyesore. Do not worry, Hinata. My children. I'm coming home, thought Naruto before closing his eyes and brought all his strength down on the village to cause a massive explosion. Deidara, the mad bomber of IWA, would have praised him as a god if he were alive to see the end result of Naruto's actions. As for Naruto, he embraced his oblivion without fear. Why should he? His enemies were no more. The war that Sasuke started was now at an end. Peace would return to the world once more. The remaining four Kages would endure in ruling their villages without him and hopefully wouldn't try to kill each other anytime soon. And even then, it was no longer his concern. I wouldn't be too sure of that, my boy, came the gravely voice of the Shinigami. I see. So you've come to take back the power you gave me, remarked Naruto with the Shinigami letting out a chuckle. No, I am not, replied the Shinigami. Then why are you here? Asked Naruto with the Shinigami looking almost tired. I need your help, dear boy. The world as you know is not what it should be or should have been for many years. In fact, the world as you have lived it up until now has been wrong, answered the Shinigami with Naruto looking surprised. So my life as I know was a mistake? Is that it? Questioned Naruto with the Shinigami shaking his head. No. Not a mistake. Just wrong. Your mother's clan for one. It should not have been destroyed, replied the Shinigami. And yet it was. By 4 of the 5 shinobi villages no less, remarked Naruto with the Shinigami shaking its head. Not 4. 5. All 5 shinobi villages had a hand in it. Konoha included, replied the Shinigami with Naruto looking at him shock and horror. What? Whispered Naruto while the Shinigami nodded. After Sarutobi Hiruzen became the Hokage, he feared for the future of Konoha. He knew the Uzumaki clan was growing in strength, in power. It would only be a matter of time before the clan allied with Konoha would become its own entity. And given how members of the Uzumaki clan are the only ones capable of holding Kyuubi, he felt they needed to be crippled to prevent them from ever having such strength, said the Shinigami while Naruto was furious. Who else was involved in that decision? Who else knew the truth? Asked Naruto, though he had a good idea on most if not all of them. Hiruzen's old teammates, of course. His former rival Shimura Danzo. Orochimaru helped plot where to strike. And, Jiraiya, in order to go acquire your mother for the transfer of the Kyuubi from Mito to her, answered the Shinigami while Naruto was once again floored. Jiraiya was involved? Orochimaru, I could see. Danzo and those other 2 bastards. But Jiraiya? Questioned Naruto while feeling the bond he had with the Sannin break. He helped disable the security and trap seals that would have destroyed the advanced enemy attack force. He also used his spy network to leak the secret passages the enemy ninja could slip into the village to perform the pincer attack Orochimaru helped devise to make it successful. He knew the one Uzumaki acquired from the clan would be able to do Fuinjutsu easily. In fact, Mito left a great deal of knowledge for her to learn from after your mother came here. Hiruzen knew this and made sure Kushina would put the skills gained to good use for Konoha's benefit. Didn't you find it odd that both Hiruzen and his student knew about your clan, your mother, and what they could do? Yet they did not once make sure you were taught those same skills? Explained the Shinigami with Naruto's face contorting with rage. What do I need to do? You clearly have some idea on how to fix things so the life I have lived doesn't repeat itself a second time, replied Naruto with the Shinigami nodding. I will send you back in time, Naruto. Back before you were born. During the days of the Second Shinobi War. You will alter events so your clan does not fall and Konoha as you know it does not act the way it did, answered the Shinigami. And what happens when I do something that alters time and erases me from existence? Do you care if I decide to crush Konoha if I so choose? Questioned Naruto while the Shinigami shakes his head. No. The first part won't happen. You will be sent back, but not as Uzumaki Naruto. You will in truth be sent back as another member of the Uzumaki clan. As for the village that helped betray you, do as you see fit unless I tell you otherwise, answered the Shinigami with Naruto raising an eyebrow at the deity. So I go back in time as myself, but not as myself so I won't risk destroying myself in the distant future. Is that correct? Asked Naruto with the Shinigami nodding. Yes. With the proper alterations to the timeline, your future self will grow up strong, well-educated, and more importantly, have a family who will love you no matter what, replied the Shinigami with Naruto nodding. I don't suppose it's too much to ask for a much younger body, is it? While I am no slouch in this form as you know, I would prefer to live long enough to at least see myself being born, replied Naruto with the Shinigami chuckled. I can give you back your energy so you can live longer, but the current form you are in stays the same. After all, I think you would find it funny to see grown men barely a third of your current aged form being unable to win against you in a fight, remarked the Shinigami with Naruto thinking it over before nodding. Well, he's not wrong, thought Naruto before the deity gave him back his energy, and the old-looking Uzumaki felt stronger in the process. It is time. When you awaken in the world of the living, you will no longer be Uzumaki Naruto. He doesn't exist yet. You will be Uzumaki Yamamoto Genryusai Shigakuni, declared the Shinigami with Naruto's sweat dropping at the long-ass name. Can't you just call me Uzumaki Yamamoto for short? Asked Naruto with the Shinigami letting out a chuckle while showing his face did look at tad, sheepish. Yes, I suppose it is a bit long, remarked the Shinigami while Naruto sighed a bit at the deity. I'm ready. Let's get this over with, said Naruto impatiently. Even after aging into an old man you still act impatient, commented the Shinigami. I'm an Uzumaki. What did you expect? Countered Naruto with a small huff. Indeed, said the Shinigami before he opened the necessary portal for old Uzumaki to enter. It was time to change the history of the world as he knew, and for the better. Chapter 2: The Safety of Yuzu. It was an interesting experience for him to see his mother's homeland at the height of its power during the Second Shinobi War. He saw his Uzumaki Clan walking around, being happy, healthy, full of life, and all around feeling good. A far cry from what would one day befall them and Yuzu without his intervention in the months to come. The Second Shinobi War was escalating, IWA was on the march, and Kumo was beside them in that regard. Suna and Kiri were also showing signs of choosing targets, but the time-traveled Uzumaki knew they would all converge on Yuzu at the last possible moment. The elderly man suspected Jiraiya and his Kami-damned spy network had a hand in that if the revelation by the Shinigami on what the Sannin did in selling out the Uzumaki clan during this point in time as any indication. All of the misfortunate that befell the Uzumaki clan had shortly happened when Sarutobi Hiruzen became the Sandaime Hokage. That moment in time was actually several years ago, and shortly following his reign there were clear signs of tension between Yuzu and Konoha. Not surprising. We did want Mito here for the resealing of Kurama into a new host, and they wouldn't allow it. Stating security risk this. Seal weakening that. Bah! If they were truly so concerned about such things, they would have let us take her right out of Konoha in secret, and misdirecting the other villages with Erosennin's spy network. Instead, they had demanded we send one of our clan to Konoha for the resealing. The only reason I even allowed this to happen was so my mother would be holding Kurama, and she would one day meet my father, thought one Uzumaki Yamamoto, who was also at one point in life from the future, and been called Uzumaki Naruto. But unlike before, this time he was a true full-blooded Uzumaki, and had all the skills one such as himself at his age possessed. As it turned out, there had actually been an Uzumaki clan member by the name of Uzumaki Yamamoto — insert super long-ass name here, and was presumed dead for years sometime between the First and Second Shinobi War. No one knew if it was from old age or some vengeful shinobi from rival villages. Of course, when Naruto, or rather Yamamoto, showed up on the clan doorstep, many were hesitant to believe he was the genuine article, and asked where he was all this time. The proclaimed Yamamoto easily explained how he had gone into isolation in order to go on a spiritual journey of enlightenment. The fact he didn't get in touch with them during this was due to him losing track of time, and the old Uzumaki humbly apologized for it. Much to the heavy sweat dropping and face-planted reactions of his kin when he said, "I got lost on the road of spiritual life. My bad," before giving a hearty Uzumaki chuckle. Following that particular moment, Uzumaki Yamamoto was now part of the clan once more, and was considered a key advisor to the Uzumaki clan head. Many suggested he take over as clan head, seeing as he was the oldest if not strongest Uzumaki around, but Yamamoto told them that it wasn't for him, and trusted the current clan head to do things right. "Hey old man!" exclaimed a red-haired girl running up to Yamamoto with a smile on her face. "Hello Kushina-chan. How are you?" asked Yamamoto while finding it interesting to see his mother this way. Since the last time he saw her was in his mind, full-grown, and not afraid to hit him on the head for being what she considered rude. "I'm fine. Better than you, I bet, with your old bones," commented Kushina with a grin. Q-tick mark from Yamamoto and a punch to the girl's red-haired head. "My bones may be old, Kushina, but they have lost none of their strength," exclaimed an irritated Yamamoto before he realized just what he had done. He had just hit his former mother, on the head. For a moment, he feared what would happen if Kushina found out her future son, who traveled back in time, had hit her right on the head as a child, and all over calling him old. Fortunately, the moment was shrugged off since he doubted she would ever find out, and it's not like anyone alive would be able to tell her the truth, apart from himself, which he had no intention of doing. "Oh, mean old Yama!" exclaimed Kushina with a glare. "Snippy little tomato head," countered Yamamoto with Kushina's glare intensifying. "You take that back. I am not a tomato head," said Kushina while pointing at him. "No, I won't. Now if you will excuse me, I have to go. Bye for now, Tomato-chan," replied Yamamoto before he left via Shunpa and ignoring the angry scream from the girl who would one day be Uzumaki Naruto's mother. and set in motion the reason why no one in Konoha dared call her a tomato after the first time an academy student there said it. Use a tower sometime later. Jiraiya from Konoha and a team of assigned ANBU are coming here tomorrow at the behest of the Hokage. They want to inspect the seals surrounding the key defensive sections of Yuzu, said Uzumaki Garp, who felt Yamamoto should know about this, and hear what the older man felt about this. Not surprising since they both had a growing dislike for Konoha. When Hashirama and Tobirama had been alive with the Hokage hat on their heads, all was well. The bonds between the two had been good, and Mito sent letters back home about Konoha and how she loved it. But since Hiruzen had been in power, the letters came less frequently, and it was clear the elderly woman didn't care for the village like she used to when her husband was alive. When the issue of transferring Kyubi to another Uzumaki came up, Konoha had practically declared the Biju their property, and thus belonged to them regardless if the only one capable of holding the fox was an Uzumaki. Garp nearly came to blows with the young Hokage, and had to be restrained by 4 of his own ANBU. Hiruzen had an unreadable expression on his face, but the Uzumaki clan head could see through his stone-faced facade. In fact, Garp wondered why Mito wasn't at the meeting, and he had suspected it was due to the woman's sensory abilities detecting the true intentions of the Sandaime Hokage. Garp knew Mito loved her late husband and brother-in-law, but the Uzumaki clan cared for blood-related family first, no matter what. As such, Garp felt Mito would have the final say if she were there, and would have sided with her clan over Konoha if only to ensure things were done properly in Yuzu by the most skilled Fuinjutsu masters. They also want to take Kushina to Konoha for transferring the Kyubi from Mito into her, added Yamamoto with a frown. While I dislike the idea of using Kushina like this, we have to sadly be realistic that it's necessary in order to keep the Biju out of the hands of those who would abuse such power. Though given how Konoha has the Uchiha clan, I'm inclined to fight them on this. Mito is in her twilight years. She deserves to be buried here following the transfer. Not there. I don't care if Senju Hashirama was her husband. She is an Uzumaki, damn it. When she dies, her body should be resting peacefully here with dignity and honor as a member of our clan, exclaimed Garp with Yamamoto nodding. But Hiruzen is holding most of the cards. We have the seal masters and the body for the transfer. They currently have the Biju and are playing on our clan's honor to give in to all of their demands. That we won't allow Mito to die and Konoha to perish while using our clan's beliefs against us, remarked Yamamoto while Garp frowning further since he had assumed the same thing. It's truly sickening. To think Hashirama's own students would stoop so low to keep the Biju in Konoha. Hamura and Koharu I can see doing this. They both had a twinkle in their eyes at the idea of having a young Jinchuriki from our clan for them to mold to their own benefit. Even that emotion-banning twit Danzo is clearly frothing mentally at the mouth to have Kushina in Konoha as the next Jinchuriki. But Hiruzen? Hashirama often spoke of Hiruzen having the will of fire. Being honorable. Being loyal to friends as one would their family. Ha! Shows what he knows. Kami no Shinobi, my left sandal. He was the Kami no naive baka if there ever was one, added Garp while letting out a huff and leaning back against his chair. I'll keep an eye on them. Anything Jiraiya and the ANBU do to the seals, I can fix easily, and even improve them if possible, replied Yamamoto with Garp nodding. Your suspicions regarding Konoha are starting to become more accurate, my friend. We both know if anything does happen to our clan during this war, Kushina will be stuck in Konoha, and will have to face being disliked due to being considered a foreigner in their eyes. A new concept that has been growing steadily since Hiruzen took office as Hokage, and one he has yet to suppress if what Mito's last letter is anything to go by, said Garp while Yamamoto frowned since he knew the fall of the Uzumaki clan started with the Sandaime Hokage's betrayal with the help of 2 of his students. I was under the impression poor Mito was getting too old and weak to send any more letters to us? Questioned Yamamoto with Garp shaking his head. No. That's what she wanted others in Konoha to believe. Mainly her doctors, who were appointed to her by Hiruzen. Remember, when she warned me of this slowly happening to her in one of the previous letters she sent? And you suspected it was more than that? I replied back to her and left a coded message in my letter to fake being weak to fool the doctors and medic needs so she could write back to us one day about what was happening in Konoha. She wrote back in code like I did and mentioned the words strangling root, monkey anger, and poisonous toad. That tells me all is not well with Konoha. That such things are now currently aimed at us, explained Garp while he saw Yamamoto grip his walking stick even harder. Danzo, Hiruzen, and Jiraiya are all conspiring against the Uzumaki clan in order to take complete control over the future Kyuubi Jinchuriki. And not just Kushina, but any who follow her after being in Konoha, surmised Yamamoto with Garp nodding. Jiraiya has only recently been declared a master of Fuinjutsu. Though that's putting it lightly since he's not really up to our level. But his skills are just enough that he could effectively seal a lesser Biju into a body to make a Jinchuriki. With enough time and effort on his part, I'm sure Jiraiya could even use his knowledge of Fuinjutsu to seal the Kyuubi into another Uzumaki, replied Garp with Yamamoto grunting. The act alone of trying to seal the Kyuubi into someone would kill him, even if the said person chosen was an Uzumaki. The man does not strike me as someone who would give his life for such a cause. He strikes me as someone who would train the one who will and mooch off of said student's memory. All to make women swoon and to get them into his bed, said Yamamoto while knowing Jiraiya did that during his 3-year training trip to get the women to remotely consider having sex with him. Mito also warned me about the snake's slowly growing cruel mentality, as she called it, and to be just as cautious around the friends of the idiot monkey before I do something stupid, added Garp while Yamamoto was reminded of Orochimaru and Hiruzen's 2 teammates. He was looking forward to killing them all again. And indeed we shall. But first, we need to deal with the poisonous toad and his little escort entering our homeland. Once that is resolved and Kushina is the new Jinchuriki of Kyuubi, she should be allowed to come back home to be here with us to give her seal a proper inspection from time to time. Something we should strongly insist upon to Jiraiya when he is here to let him know Kushina will always be one of us first and foremost. No matter what Hiruzen or Konoha says on the matter regarding her being a Jinchuriki. The very name we label those who are makes my stomach turn, stated Yamamoto with Garp nodding. Agreed on all counts, my friend, replied Garp with Yamamoto nodding and leaving the room. He had work to do. Yuzu the next day. Jiraiya knew his presence, much less the ANBU with him weren't going to be welcome in Yuzu, but this was just ridiculous. The man came through the secret passage by an armed escort of 10 Yuzu ANBU and got the distinct impression that these guys would kill him along with his team if not for the orders given by the Uzumaki clan head. Tensions had been building for some time, so Jiraiya could almost understand the need for such security, but the man also felt it was insulting that Yuzu would even act this way, and toward him of all people. A student of the Sandaime Hokage himself? Of course, if the Uzumaki clan ever realized what one of the main and real reasons they were here today, one could say the people of Yuzu were not in the wrong. The thing was, Hiruzen had given the order to secure Kushina, and at the same time make sure she was among the few Uzumaki left among the clan in the future after the war was over. Jiraiya didn't question his sensei and Hokage on the issue. If anything, he agreed with the man since Yuzu was getting well known, and very powerful in their own right. It wouldn't be long before they were actually acknowledged as their own shinobi village. Minor village, mind you, for right now, given it was all clan members in it, but in the future? Who really knows? They might become a 6th major shinobi village. No one wanted that. 6 was one number too many in Hiruzen's mind when it came to major villages. 5 village was the cutoff point, and the Uzumaki clan had no business adding themselves or even trying to add themselves into the mix. It was time for Konoha to cut its losses. They had Kyuubi, but needed a new vessel. The Uzumaki clan had the new vessel and the sealing ability to ensure the Biju was placed in the new vessel safely. The problem at hand was the Uzumaki clan would ensure the seal was designed to hold the Biju, but not unleash its power. Hiruzen frowned upon that last part, and so did Jiraiya. The other villages weren't doing that, so why should they? It was one of the reasons Jiraiya was here. To not only secure Kushina, but see some of their work on Fuinjutsu so he could devise a way to alter the seal placed on Kushina in the future to unleash the Kyuubi's power on IWA or Kumo. He knew the Uzumaki clan would frown at this, since if they learned of his intentions toward what they considered to be the abuse of Fuinjutsu. Fortunately, for Konoha and Jiraiya anyway, they wouldn't have to deal with such moral annoyances anymore from the Uzumaki clan shortly after they left here with their prize. Garp-sama! Your welcoming party is not what it once was, exclaimed Jiraiya happily to Garp in his usual laid and carefree back-type manner. Normally, you would be right. But we are at war, Jiraiya. One cannot be too careful in these dark times, said Garp, since he would have been more welcoming of Jiraiya if not for the things he felt were off about the man being here. True. Very true. I know we are being a pain in the ass being here, so I will make my visit short and to the point so we can get out of your red slightly graying hair, replied Jiraiya casually, like he wasn't insulted. Yes. You are here for one of my kin to bring to Konoha for the transfer of Kyubi. I still say you should have brought Mito here for this instead of Kushina coming with you to Konoha, said Garp angrily while Jiraiya shrugged. Too risky. My spy network told me a lot of shinobi activity from the other villages are being made throughout the different countries right now. Mito was Hashirama's wife, and is still a prime target. Age notwithstanding, replied Jiraiya while Garp's eyes narrowed. She is an Uzumaki and we protect our own. Besides, Mito may be aged, but I suspect she could still whip your butt in a fight. Not to mention you got here safely enough with your own ANBU without trouble. Why would it be any different if Mito was here with you now? Challenged Garp while Jiraiya looked sheepish. Well, I hadn't thought of that. Still, it is better to be safe than sorry, as they say. Besides, Mito is much safer in Konoha right now with an entire village protecting her under the Sandaime Hokage's watch, replied Jiraiya with Garp narrowing his eyes further. I would sooner trust a fresh out of the academy made genin for an Uzumaki over that of an entire ANBU platoon from Konoha, thought Garp to himself before the man grunted and motioned for Jiraiya and his ANBU to follow him. All the while missing the narrowed eyes of an old man for an Uzumaki with a long beard sitting down with a walking staff watching them every step of the way. Yuzu 3 days later. Are you sure this information is reliable? Asked a shinobi from IWA while glancing at the Kumo ANBU captain leading this allied assault against Yuzu. My sources say it is. Look! Here is the entrance just like the spy said. Unguarded and the seals have been disabled, replied the Kumo ANBU while glancing at the Kiri and Suna shinobi with their group. This is too easy. Who gave your Kage this information? Asked the Kiri shinobi since he wasn't so sure this plan would go off without a hitch. You wouldn't believe me, even if I told you. In some ways, I don't think you even want to know, replied the Kumo ANBU since he didn't want to believe it either. I find it hard to believe the Uzumaki clan would be so lax in their security, or that one of their own would betray them, remarked a Suna shinobi with a scar running from his eye going down diagonally past his nose and to the lip. I never said it was Yuzu, remarked the Kumo ANBU cryptically while he along with the others moved silently through the tunnel that would take them into the heart of Yuzu while the main force attacked from the outside. Before they could have this silent conversation even further, the ground beneath them had suddenly begun glowing with seals before the entire allied ninja squad was impaled with earth spikes. Some managed to get out of the way in time by using chakra to press against the ceiling, but they were soon fried when seals appeared, and hit with an intense blast of lightning that turned the bodies to ashes. What remained of those who survived that were trying to retreat from where they entered, only to find the way blocked, and a new wall appeared at their back. Following that, more seals appeared all around them, and the now smaller area these allied shinobi were contained in began to quickly fill with water, with the water being filled with piranhas. Naturally, there were no survivors. Walls of Yuzu at the moment. Bodies lay everywhere. A lot of bodies. Shinobi from Kiri, Suna, Kumo, and IWA were all on the ground. Dead? Well, dead or quickly dying. They had been told an infiltration team would help in a pincer movement that would allow them to take down Yuzu on 2 fronts. How the seals on the walls connected to traps and early warning detection had been disabled a few days earlier without the Uzumaki clan noticing. How that happened, they didn't really know, or maybe deep down for the smarter-than-average shinobi of this allied force, they didn't want to know. The point was, they had basically been assured a guaranteed victory, and were eager to take it. Only to find their eagerness in believing in an assured thing, even from their own Kages when given this assignment, would ultimately be their undoing. How could this have happened? How could we have lost? Were we betrayed by our own Kages? Did they really turn on us? Or did one of them betray the other to the Uzumaki clan without even realizing it? Thought a dying jounin from Suna while crawling away from the bodies around him and trying to escape in a futile attempt to report back to the Kazekage of their staggering loss. Only to get a sword go through his neck and out of his throat. Reduce all creation into ash, Ryujin Jaka, said an elderly voice before the body on the ground, and those around him were consumed in flames. And only the person causing the flames was the one walking out of it unscathed. Konoha 1 week later. You assured me the seals were disabled, Jiraiya. You and your entire team I sent to get Kushina were ordered to disable the seals around Yuzu without anyone knowing the truth. The mission was a success, Sensei. Those were your words, Jiraiya, when I asked about it, stated Hiruzen angrily at Jiraiya while Orochimaru was in the room along with Hamura, Koharu, and Danzo with displeased looks on their faces. I did. I made sure of it. Besides, if you want to pass along blame here, why not blame the team? He was the one who suggested the secret tunnel I used to get into Yuzu when I was there for the enemy to enter undetected when the Allied army attacked. Protested Jiraiya while pointing at Orochimaru, who frowned since he did come up with the idea, and the plan to perform the pincer movement accordingly. And it would have worked too, provided Jiraiya's end of things went smoothly. Which it didn't. My end would have worked had you done your job, Baka. Now the Uzumaki clan are getting suspicious of us. They sent a letter demanding how the enemy not only knew of the tunnel use, but why some of their seals were noticeably damaged if not disabled. Not to mention the damage they saw was fresh and looked like it was days old when they began repairing it. The fact you were on Yuzu the day such a thing happened to their seals makes us all look like traitors to allies, replied Orochimaru with narrowed serpent eyes. Considering what we did or at least tried doing to the Uzumaki clan, isn't it true? Asked Jiraiya with Hiruzen and the others frowning at him. That's not the point, Jiraiya. With the Uzumaki clan scattered, no one would have been able to piece it all together on their end. We could have easily picked up the survivors to bring them to us and be reorganized as a clan of this village we easily could control. At least regarding the usage of one of them to hold the Kyuubi. We could also learn how to use Fuinjutsu on a level like them, and they are not needed so much, said Hiruzen while glaring at his student. Yeah, well, it didn't work out, but it wasn't my fault. I was careful. So was the ANBU team with me. Though maybe if the members of Root weren't part of it, the Uzumaki clan wouldn't have been none the wiser, commented Jiraiya with Danzo frowning. And what does Root have to do with your own incompetence? Asked Danzo with a frown. I don't know, maybe the fact those trained in your program have the emotional stability of a wet dishcloth. The Uzumaki clan have a lot of skilled sensors, who can sense the emotions of people. Mito was one of them, remember? The ones in Yuzu no doubt sensed how emotionless some of the ANBU and my escort were with me and made it known to Uzumaki Garp. Chances are he had some members of the clan snoop around where they went and saw the damage done before repairing it, replied Jiraiya with Danzo frowning further. Emotions people possess are a weakness, Jiraiya. My Root shinobi did their job per the instructions given to them. I highly doubt they are the reasons for your failure, countered Danzo with Jiraiya frowning at him. One day you are going to die an old man. Old and alone, remarked Jiraiya with Danzo not even twitching at the supposed insult. Considering how you live or intend to live in the future, Jiraiya, I expect to outlive you, countered Danzo with Jiraiya smirking. Fine by me. The world by that point would probably suck anyway, Jiraiya shot back. Enough. Both of you. We need to figure out how to stop this from making us look like we betrayed our own allies. Thoughts? Questioned Hiruzen while the room went into silence once more for a time. They can't actually prove Jiraiya and his team damaged the seals after all the fighting that occurred, Sensei. For all they know, the seals were damaged during the attempt to invade Yuzu. Not Jiraiya, said Orochimaru while Hiruzen nodded. And the secret entrance? Asked Hiruzen since that was another issue. We say the enemy found it while searching for a way to get into Yuzu from behind, while the main force obviously attacked from the front. They foolishly entered a well-hidden entrance made to be a secret trap and died because of it. Not our fault the enemy found the damn place and entered believing it was unguarded in some shape or form, added Jiraiya with Hiruzen nodding in agreement there. The fact the Uzumaki clan would make such claims of us betraying them is an insult to Konoha and to you, Hokage-sama, added Koharu, while knowing they could spin this in a way where the Uzumaki clan were coming off paranoid. Even if the clan was actually correct. Even still, accusations still have a way of clinging to things. Not unlike a bad stench on clothing. You can scrub and clean the clothing all you want, but the bad stench will still remain. If only in memory, remarked Hamura, while making sure they understood this accusation made by the Uzumaki clan would not go away so easily no matter how hard Konoha tried to spin it. I get it. We're going to look like the bad guys here for a while until this mess blows over. Big deal. We have Kushina. Mito will be ready to transfer the Kyuubi into her soon, and that will be the end of it. I'm already coming up with ideas for different seals we could create for future Jinchuriki beyond Kushina, so we have our future weapon once it's time for her to pass on the fox to another one. Hopefully an Uzumaki born here. That way we can have undisputed claim to the child should Yuzu get involved again, replied Jiraiya, since he felt his mission was an overall success with a minor bump in the road regarding the continued existence of the Uzumaki clan. It's not that simple, Jiraiya, replied Hiruzen, while Jiraiya frowned. What do you mean it's not that simple? Asked Jiraiya, while Hiruzen sighed. The Uzumaki clan wasn't happy when they did their investigation on the issue. They are considering breaking off all ties to Konoha. That means taking back all of the members of the Uzumaki clan, Jinchuriki included. Meaning we lose both Kushina and Kyuubi in one single stroke, explained Hiruzen, while Jiraiya and the others looked angry. They can't. We need a Jinchuriki in Konoha. They can't take Mito or Kushina from us. Especially not now during a war, protested Jiraiya, while Orochimaru sighing. Maybe not now, Jiraiya, but most likely after the war is over. Mito will most likely die prior to the end of the war or shortly after, depending on how much longer this will last. Depending on the aftermath of the war, Kushina may be recalled back to Yuzu, where she can continue to be an Uzumaki on their terms, and not ours like we first intended, said Orochimaru, knowing the Uzumaki clan would wait until the war was resolved and take back what was theirs. Fortunately, it may not come to that. Uzumaki Garp added in his letter that he is willing with great reluctance to let this suspicion slide if we allow another one of their older members live in Konoha. A precautionary measure, he says, and went on further to claim that refusing us now would only give the Uzumaki clan more reason to take both Mito and Kushina back to Yuzu. Not to mention everything that the Uzumaki clan placed here to help build Konoha with Hashirama, said Hiruzen, while this made the others in the room scowl angrily. So it's basically an ultimatum and not a request. Let the Uzumaki come to Konoha, or they take everything the Uzumaki clan gave us to make Konoha and leave us to fend for ourselves, remarked Jiraiya, with Hiruzen nodding, since that was exactly what it was. Ridiculous. What right do those islanders have to issue this demand to us? Konoha, the strongest of the 5 shinobi villages, exclaimed Koharu angrily. To be fair, Koharu-san, we would have made the exact same demand if the roles were reversed, said Jiraiya, with Danzo scowling. Irrelevant. Konoha is the only village that matters. Not Iwa, Suna, Kumo, Kiri, and most certainly not some island filled with few ninjutsu users that call themselves a clan. I don't care if they are the cousin clan of the Senju. They are a constant threat, and as such should be eliminated before they have a chance to do anything to us in return, said Danzo, since he believed anything not born, made, or created in Konoha for him to control should either be destroyed or suppressed. Well, we can't now. They are most likely going to strengthen their defenses and keep their guard up around anyone sent to Yuzu for any reason, commented Hamura, while the others were seething at how their plan was ruined. That aside, say we agree to let this Uzumaki clan member to join Konoha. What does he or she contribute to this, and what is his name? Asked Jiraiya curiously, while the Hokage just sighed, rubbed his head. His name is Uzumaki Yamamoto. He is arguably the oldest Uzumaki clan member they have, and also arguably the most powerful too, replied Hiruzen, with Danzo, Orochimaru, Hamura, and Koharu stiffening in fear. Uzumaki Yamamoto? As in the Uzumaki Yamamoto? But he's supposed to be dead. Or rather, reported to be dead, exclaimed Koharu fearfully, since she had seen the man in his younger years as a child and his power unleashed. Even Uchiha Madara's strength paled in comparison to that Uzumaki. In fact, Koharu suspected Madara and Hashirama working together couldn't have been enough to defeat that man. Yes. I thought so too. But apparently we were wrong to assume as much. Yamamoto is not only very much alive, but is considered stronger than before. He came back to Yuza sometime just before Jiraiya arrived for Kushina and has expressed an interest in seeing Konoha again, replied Hiruzen while the others in the room looked nervous. Wait. If this guy is the strongest Uzumaki in the clan right now, why isn't he the clan head instead of Garp? Asked Jiraiya, since the strongest clan member should be ruling it. Because for one, they also assumed he was dead until a short time ago. And second, the man didn't want to lead the clan after coming back. Rather, he has been consulting Garp at times since his return. I suspect Yamamoto-sama has the same distrust for us as Garp now does, replied Hiruzen while the others in the room winced. So he's that powerful? Asked Jiraiya with Orochimaru hissing at his teammate. Honestly, Jiraiya, where were you when they were teaching our class history at the Ninja Academy? Any shinobi worth their headband knows of Uzumaki Yamamoto. It was said the man could literally personify the will of fire that Hashirama preached about. He was given the nickname Yuza's Fire, for a reason. Not even Madara or Hashirama could hope to match him in battle either separately or together, said Orochimaru while Jiraiya now looking a bit nervous when hearing this. Madara and Hashirama were considered the pride of Konoha despite how the former went insane and leaving. For anyone to remotely surpass either of them was truly a monstrous individual. Which is all the more reason we can't say no. Besides, Kushina already has some kind of connection to him. If we refuse to let Yamamoto come to Konoha, it might incite the man to take drastic measures to get the point across that saying no isn't an option. At this stage of the war, saying no to such a person is most unwise. No matter how much I want to say no, replied Hiruzen with the others in the room not liking this one bit. When is he expected here? Asked Danzo so he could put some root ANBU on the man for surveillance purposes. Tomorrow morning, answered Hiruzen while seeing Danzo's frown increase. Tomorrow morning? So soon? Questioned Orochimaru since he found this to be usual given how the letter was only received today. Like I said, Yamamoto has little love for Konoha. No doubt he wants to get here quickly enough in order to make sure Kushina isn't corrupted by our village, explained Hiruzen while Hamura and Koharu frowned. He should be given restricted movement throughout Konoha, remarked Koharu while Hamura nodded. And if I issued that command to him, who here is going to help me enforce it? Will you, Koharu? What about you, Hamura? Danzo? Orochimaru, are you interested in enforcing such a command and making Yamamoto see things our way through the use of force? Questioned Hiruzen while everyone in the room kept their mouths shut. So nice to know everyone in this room is a coward like me when it comes to this guy, thought Jiraiya while keeping his mouth shut on the matter. We will figure out how to deal with Yamamoto-sama when he arrives tomorrow. In the meantime, we need to focus on the academy, and where to place Kushina in it. Tsunade is currently with her right now and unknowingly helping us get the girl on our side like I originally hoped, said Hiruzen with Jiraiya running a hand against his chin. I have been keeping an eye on the academy for a while now. I think we should put her in the class with those of her age group. There are quite a few clan heirs in one of them if I am recalling this year's starting class correctly, right? Put Kushina in the same class with them. Offered Jiraiya with Hamura and Koharu looking at him like he just said that all Jinchuriki should be loved if not respected for their burdens. What? With the clan heirs? With Kushina? Questioned Hamura since he felt such a thing shouldn't happen simply because the girl was going to be Konoha's future Jinchuriki and weapon. Why not? We need Kushina to like Konoha in order to stay here in the future, right? Not to mention she is from a clan. Maybe not a clan heir, but still from an important clan in connection to the Senju. Plus, we need her to interact with the kids her age so she wants to actually stay in Konoha because of them when they are all grow up. She enrolls in the academy, makes friends with those in the class, and grows up as a ninja of Konoha while we keep her status as a Jinchuriki under wraps. At least for the moment anyway. When the time is right, we let it slip out, or create a scenario where she unleashes a good chunk of the Biju's chakra despite the seal used to contain it. Even if Mito does give Kushina a similar seal to her own, I can always alter it in the future to change the purpose of the seal while under the pretenses of inspect and future research. By the time the village tries to isolate Kushina due to her status as a Jinchuriki, we make it seem like we care, and she will want to keep what few friends she has left here no matter what," explained Jiraiya with Hiruzen nodding at the idea. "There is just one problem regarding the altering of the seal, Jiraiya. Yamamoto-sama is a master Fuinjutsu user. What makes you think he will even let you get within 3 feet of Kushina to inspect her seal? Much less alter it to your specifications?" questioned Danzo while Jiraiya just shrugged. "Easy. Time," Sensei said it himself. "He's an old man. Sure, Yamamoto is strong for his age, but he won't live forever. Chances are he'll die sometime within the next 5 years of old age. We just pretend to be on our best behavior until that time, and after the old geezer kicks the bucket, we lure Kushina into our confidence, and make up some reason for me to see her seal," replied Jiraiya while Hiruzen once again nodding at the idea. "Good idea. I'll arrange for Kushina to be in the academy class pertaining to her age. She has some ninja training, so I imagine there is no real risk of her being behind them when starting out at the academy," added Hiruzen while knowing this would be a good chance to influence Kushina despite possible interference from Mito and Yamamoto. Konoha the next day. Uzumaki Yamamoto huffed at the sight of Konoha, his eyes gazing up at the site of the Hokage monument sporting the heads of Senju Hashirama and Tobirama. Both great in terms of being Hokage, but their personal choices and students, and successor to being the Hokage left much to be desired. Sarutobi Hiruzen's own face was freshly placed on the monument not that long ago, but the sight of it made Yamamoto angry at what he learned in his past life as Uzumaki Naruto. To think he once admired that man for his courage and so-called honesty in doing what was right. Bah! The man was no more righteous than Danzo and barely more ethical than Orochimaru. At least he was honest about himself, and didn't really hide what he was or felt about his personality to the world. They would get their second punishment for past and future sins soon enough. "Welcome to Konoha once more, Yamamoto-sama. Do you want to rest for a bit? Such a long walk from Yuzu must have been draining," offered Hiruzen diplomatically when he went to personally greet the by far older-looking man. And got a fist to the top of his skull via the far older man with a tick mark on his bald and scarred forehead. "Impudent whelp. No manners whatsoever. Implying I am too old to travel long distances, and saying I should rest upon arriving in subtle words. Hashirama should have taught you better manners, brat," exclaimed Yamamoto while finding the perks of being the elder and strong at the same time was you could smack around just about anyone who made such a remark about your age. Subtle wording or not. Many of the ANBU assigned to guard the Hokage, and seeing this, sweat dropped at the sight of their Hokage on the ground with a massive lump on his head. The impact crater his body made thanks to the force of the punch was deep and showed Yamamoto was indeed strong for his old age. Damn Uzumaki Clan and their infamous temper. Now I see where Tsunade got hers from when growing up, thought Hiruzen while getting out of the crater and saw Yamamoto was looking at him with unimpressed eyes. "I expected more from you, Hiruzen. Already as the Hokage, and it's clearly made you soft in terms of taking a light hit. And to think it's only been a short time since Tobirama died in this war prior to naming you his successor. Perhaps Mito should have taken over and we wouldn't have to worry about such things," commented Yamamoto, and was mentally happy to see Hiruzen was clearly seething at the idea of Mito sitting in the Hokage seat over himself. Or any Uzumaki for that matter. No Uzumaki trash is going to sit in the Hokage seat. Not while I can make certain of it, thought Hiruzen while getting up from the ground. Now if you would escort me to Kushina and Mito, I would very much like to see my two precious kin, who have to undergo future hardship for the good of all, said Yamamoto with Hiruzen fixing his robes and getting the dirt off of them. Yes, of course. But first, we need to go to the Hokage Tower to speak to councils and the clan heads about your position here in the village, replied Hiruzen while Yamamoto huffed in annoyance, but not nodded all the same. Very well. But this meeting is to be kept short. I always find longer than usual meetings are unnecessary, said Yamamoto before walking ahead of Hiruzen, who glared at the older man's back, and moved to catch up with him. Long or short, Hiruzen had a feeling this meeting wasn't going to be pleasant for him in the slightest like he first hoped. Hokage Tower? "Welcome to Konoha after so many years, Yamamoto-sama," said Koharu in a polite tone while seeing the man in the flesh after so long. Even now she could sense the power running through him and shivered mentally in fear. Indeed. It has been many years. Not since near the end of the First Shinobi War, added Hamura while Yamamoto looked at the two with what could only be called discontent. "And I can only assume my return from my presumed death shocks you greatly?" asked Yamamoto while narrowing his eyes at the nervous Shinobi Council members. "Considering we all thought you were dead, it's not unreasonable," replied Danzo while he held all the politeness of dried flaky paint in his voice. "Says the man who sees human emotions as a weakness. Your social skills leave much to be desired, Danzo," remarked Yamamoto with a huff and saw Danzo scowl further. "As do your own. It seems if you are going to insult someone of high standing like myself in Konoha," Danzo shot back. "My apologizes. I simply find it hard to respect or be remotely polite to anyone who sees every person around him as an expendable tool to throw away when they are of no further use from a military standpoint," Yamamoto countered sharply and noticed Danzo was fighting back a sneer. "Damn old fool. If it wasn't for the fact he could kill us all without any effort, I would kill him myself right now," thought Danzo while keeping his emotions under check. "In any case, we are glad you are here, and have arranged for lodgings at an apartment complex in the South District of Konoha," said a civilian council member. "An apartment? In the South District?" questioned Yamamoto, since he was familiar with it when he was still Uzumaki Naruto. The apartment was a shithole and in the heart of what was considered by many to be the red light district when he lived there in the future. "Is that going to be a problem?" asked Hiruzen, with Yamamoto narrowed his eyes. "I would prefer to stay with both Mito and Kushina at the Senju clan home as guest of Tsunade. The Senju and Uzumaki clans are distant family after all," replied Yamamoto with Hiruzen looking nervous. "Oh. Well, Kushina isn't. She isn't staying with Mito," said Hiruzen nervously while Yamamoto looked less than pleased. "What?" asked Yamamoto sharply. "I wanted to take Kushina and Yamamoto-sama, but Sensei said it wouldn't be a good idea. He has her staying in an apartment complex in the Southern District," added Tsunade, as she gave an apologetic look to her cousin, and a glare to her sensei. "What?" yelled Yamamoto angrily, with his spiritual pressure covering the room, the entire tower, and well over half Konoha in a single instant. "This power! I can't breathe," thought Hiruzen while grabbing onto the table in front of him and looking up at Yamamoto's angry eyes. "You foolish and disrespectful whelp for a monkey! You dare put the future of my clan, which helped build this village, but is also the cousin clan of the Senju, in a lowly apartment complex? In the South District? We both know that area is at best a slum and at worst is the unofficial red light district of this village. You have no right to put Kushina in that area when there is a cousin like Tsunade ready to take her in the second she enters here. Even more so when Mito lives there as well and can help Kushina cope with the change in being in a different village," exclaimed Yamamoto with his anger clear as day. Their actions toward Kushina now was basically a prototype trial run on how to control her that they eventually perfected in terms of using on her son after she died. "Please, Yamamoto-sama. This can be corrected," pleaded Hiruzen before he felt even more pressure and heard several things in the room break because of it. "You're damn right this will be correct. Kushina is moving into the Senju clan home to be with Mito and Tsunade. She will learn all there is to know about the Uzumaki clan while here when training to be a ninja of Konoha. Not only that, but should the Uzumaki clan need her back in Yuzu, I will not allow anyone to impede her from going for any reason, and will kill anyone who tries," stated Yamamoto while giving Hiruzen a challenge me at your own risk look. "You can't. It's treason," protested Hamura before his heart nearly stopped at the sight of Yamamoto's eyes focusing on him. "Silence your tongue. This is not up for discussion, negotiation, or compromise between us. This is going to happen or I will kill everyone in this room sans Tsunade and let your children rule your clans and positions here in your place. Hopefully they will do a better job than the rest of you idiots," exclaimed Yamamoto, with many now fearing the wrath of this old yet still terrifying man before the pressure they felt left them. The only one in the room who was the least affected by it was Tsunade, but that was because Yamamoto wasn't focusing it on her. That won't be necessary, Yamamoto-sama. Kushina is more than welcome in the Senju clan home, wheezed Hiruzen, while Yamamoto nodded slightly. Good. Now if there is nothing else, I am going to see my kin, replied Yamamoto before he left the room and Tsunade getting up to follow him out. Such power. I've never felt anything like it. He is indeed just as strong if not stronger as the old tales my father told me, remarked Hyuga Hibachi, who was the father of both Hyuga Hayashi and Hyuga Hizashi of the Hyuga clan. Indeed. It is most unwise to anger such a man capable of such strength, added Aburaim Shina, who was the father of Aburaim Shibi, and would be the grandfather of Aburaim Shino in the future. That is not a man. It's a monster! Exclaimed a civilian council member with a hysterical look in his eyes. A monster we have clearly provoked to the point where he is willing to kill us if we do not concede to his demands. Demands which are logically not unreasonable, said Shina calmly despite everything. The Uzumaki clan have always been one to flaunt their strength when they don't get their way. They should be wiped out from this world. We would have all been better off without them, stated the Uchiha clan head, who was Uchiha Fugaku's father. If you only knew, thought Hiruzen, since that plan was now lost for the moment. Regardless, we will have to be careful around Yamamoto-sama. The last thing we need to do is provoke him into doing something violent, offered the Nara clan head, who was Nara Shikaku's father. The last thing he or anyone else wanted to do was see Konoha being put in a troublesome situation, or the angry path of Yamamoto, or the Uzumaki clan in general. With Yamamoto, it's no wonder Kushina was blinded with love for Konoha. They practically force-fed her no alternative, thought Yamamoto while putting all the events so far through his mind. Giving Kushina nothing but the bare essentials to live in Konoha. Only seeing Mito on occasion, and was basically the only member of the Uzumaki clan left after those in Yuzu scattered. When Mito died, Kushina would be all alone, with the exception being Tsunade herself, but the Senju could only do so much for her, and Yamamoto suspected Hiruzen had a hand in that, claiming some form of favoritism among clans that couldn't be shown even if they were related in some manner. By leaving Kushina practically all alone within Konoha, Hiruzen was making sure that all of her friends and comrades were all for the village. Getting her to form bonds with people who were loyal to Konoha and get her to be loyal to the only place she believed was a good place to live. No doubt Hiruzen manipulated the events along with Danzo, Hamura, and Koharu to make the girl rely on Konoha on a subconscious level. Yamamoto was going to make sure that didn't happen. Starting with having a long private conversation with Uzumaki Mito about his concerns regarding Konoha after making sure Kushina was safe within the Senju clan home.